Welcome to this explainer. When we think about the absolute greatest athletes of all time, names like Tom Brady, Michael Phelps, Kobe Bryant, Tiger Woods, it's incredibly tempting to make this one massive assumption. We just assume they all reach the absolute summit of their sports by following the exact same mental playbook, right? Like there's this universal golden formula for greatness that all champions just inherently share. Okay, let's dive into this. If we were to put all of these historic legends into a room together, what is that one single mindset, that one psychological secret that they would all agree is the key to becoming the absolute best in the world? It's a burning question. Well, spoiler alert, it doesn't exist. The whole idea of a monolithic, one-size-fits-all champions mindset, it's a total myth. If we actually take the time to deconstruct the mental models of 5 all-time greats, what we find is a fascinating anthology of 5 wildly contradictory approaches to greatness. First up, the perfectionist, Tiger Woods and the 1997 Masters.
Picture this, a 21-year-old kid named Tiger Woods stepping onto the first tee at Augusta National. By the end of that week, he hadn't just won the tournament, he absolutely dominated the entire field, leading after every single round. Now focus on this staggering number, 12. Tiger finished at 18 under par, setting a tournament record at the time, and he won by an unprecedented 12-stroke margin. For those of you who don't follow golf, that is just absurd. To put that into perspective, it's the equivalent of running a marathon and crossing the finish line a full 2 miles ahead of the second-place runner. I mean, it wasn't even close.
To everyone watching, Tiger's game was flawless. The conventional wisdom is always, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But instead of riding this massive wave of success, Tiger absolutely shocked the golf world. He chose to completely tear down and rebuild his swing from scratch, this incredibly tedious and labor-intensive process. When people called his decision asinine, his response was brilliantly simple. Well, I thought I could become better. He literally viewed satisfaction as the enemy of success. He understood that the exact moment you let success make you soft, when you start protecting what you have instead of staying hungry and striving to improve, well, that's the very moment you start falling behind. Number 2 on our list, the grinder, Kobe Bryant's 4 a.m. math. So while Tiger obsessed over structural overhauls, Kobe engineered this overwhelming, mathematically sound volume of work into his daily schedule just to create an ever-widening gap between himself and everyone else. There's this legendary anecdote from 2007 with performance coach Alan Stein Jr. Stein was invited to observe one of Kobe's private workouts at 4 a.m. Wanting to impress the superstar, Stein showed up half an hour early, at 3:30 a.m. But when he walked into the gym, he heard the ball already bouncing. Kobe was already drenched in a full sweat, but what shocked Stein even more was that Kobe wasn't practicing flashy, complex moves. He was doing basic, junior-high footwork and form shooting drills with maniacal precision. When Stein asked him why he was doing such basic drills, Kobe just looked at him and said, "I never get bored with the basics." And this brilliantly illustrates the mechanical genius behind what became known as the Mamba mentality. Kobe was intensely process-oriented. By waking up to start his first workout at 4 a.m., he could fit in 4 full training sessions a day: 4 a.m., 9 a.m., 2 p.m., and 7 p.m. Now, the industry standard at the time was only 2 sessions. By doing this day after day, year after year, the separation between him and his peers compounded so heavily that by year 5 or 6, it was mathematically impossible for anyone to ever catch up. Moving right along to number 3, this stoic, Michael Phelps and the blind swim. Flashback to the 2008 Beijing Olympics. Just 25 meters into the final of the men's 200-meter butterfly, literally the biggest race of his life, Michael Phelps' ultimate nightmare became reality. Now, to understand how he handled this nightmare, we have to formally introduce a fascinating psychological concept rooted in ancient philosophy, premeditatio malorum. This is the Stoic practice of negative visualization. Basically, it means deliberately and actively imagining the absolute worst-case scenarios, so that when they inevitably happen, you're prepared, and they completely lose their power to destroy you. Phelps would constantly visualize what could go right, what he didn't want to happen, and everything in between, like his suit ripping or his goggles failing. So when his goggles completely filled up with water just 25 meters into the race, leaving him swimming entirely blind with zero visibility, it wasn't a shock. He didn't panic. Because he had mentally rehearsed this exact disaster, he simply executed his backup plan. He counted his strokes with absolute precision. He touched the wall first, won the gold, and even set a new world record. Yet, amazingly, after the race, he was actually furious. He really believed he should have gone at least half a second faster. Just like Tiger, that core trait of relentless dissatisfaction fueled his greatness. Next up, number 4, the underdog, Tom Brady's consistency. The contrast here is, well, it's almost comical. Look at this disastrous NFL Combine scouting report. Drafted an 199th overall in the 6th round, he was described as skinny, unathletic. He ran a super slow 5.2-second dash, and scouts explicitly noted he had no elite physical tools. Absolutely no one was standing on a table calling him the next Joe Montana. Fast forward, and the outcome is 7 Super Bowl rings and a 2-decade dynasty. His philosophy was beautifully simple. To be successful, you don't have to be special. You just have to be what most people aren't, determined, consistent, and willing to work for it, every single day with zero shortcuts.
He anchored this philosophy perfectly during Super Bowl 51 against the Atlanta Falcons. The Patriots were down 28-3 in the third quarter, facing the absolute largest deficit in Super Bowl history. In a situation like that, most teams and most people would have entirely mentally checked out. The story seemed fully written. But Brady's career, built on simply showing up every single day, forged an impenetrable mental resilience. He refused to accept the narrative, rallied his team with laser focus and no fear, and orchestrated the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history.
Finally, number 5, the Zen master, Roger Federer's turning point. Today, we all think of Federer as the absolute picture of elegance and calm. But early in his career, he actually had a terrible temper. He regularly smashed rackets, screamed at umpires, and allowed his explosive emotions to completely derail his matches, really threatening to destroy his entire career potential. So what changed? Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this mind-blowing statistic Federer shared during a Dartmouth commencement address. Over his professional career of more than 1,500 matches, he won nearly 80% of those matches. But out of all the individual points played to make up those matches, he only won 54%. He lost 46% of the time. Even a top-ranked, legendary tennis player barely wins more than half the points they actually play. That simple mathematical reality forced a massive turning point in his mind. He worked with a sports psychologist for years to develop a philosophy distilled into just one sentence. It's only a point. When you lose almost every second point on average, you simply cannot afford to dwell on your mistakes. Federer mastered the art of emotional detachment. He learned to accept his imperfection instantly. If he hit a double fault, he just let it go immediately, freeing his mind to fully commit to the very next point with intense clarity and focus. Which brings us to our final section, the ultimate contradiction. As we look at these 5 undeniable champions, it is just impossible to ignore how wildly, almost violently, these mindsets clash with one another. There is no unified theory of greatness here. So the crucial point is perfectly juxtaposed right here. Tiger Woods thrived on deep dissatisfaction. His coach literally had to stop bringing a video camera to tournaments because Tiger would relentlessly nitpick every single microscopic flaw, tearing things down just to rebuild them. On the flip side, Roger Federer reached the exact same pinnacle of greatness by doing the complete opposite, practicing calm acceptance, refusing to fight his imperfections, and mastering rapid mental recovery. And that brings us to why all of this matters so deeply for you and me. While there is clearly no single formula for success, and their individual psychological methods completely contradict each other, there is one undeniable common thread: the willingness to engage in deep, deliberate mental work. Whether you use the negative visualization of Phelps, the mathematical volume of Kobe, or the emotional detachment of Federer, the immense intentional effort required to actually execute these mindsets is entirely universal. We've seen the perfectionist, the grinder, the stoic, the underdog, and the Zen master. They all found a completely different way to win on their own mental terms. So I leave you with this. As you look at the unique challenges in your own life, which mental model will you choose to master your own game?